Hi guys, welcome to my channel, JS Project Wild. I'm Jim, and I'm kind of excited about this review today. Normally, before I do a review on anything that I own, I check online first to see if there's a whole bunch of reviews, and if they are and they're decent ones, then I don't do a review. I did a check on the internet, Rumble, YouTube, and the rest of them, and I could not find a review with these two units side by side, the Agri-Fab Mow-N-Vac, the Trac Vac 580. Could not find them both together on a video anywhere, so that's why I'm doing this review, and I'm kind of excited about that. So let me first start out by saying, and I want you guys to give me your opinion when you're done watching this video, and this might be a long one, but I'm going to cover a lot of stuff. I'm going to cover so much stuff I had to make myself a cheat sheet. Now also, let me warn you, I will not be able to operate this today because, as you can see, it's actually September 2nd, Monday, holiday, and of course I have no leaves on the ground, so I won't be able to show you this in operation. However, there are plenty of videos to show you that. I will at one point show this one in operation because I've done a review on this in the past. It's on my channel if you want to check it out, and there's two other videos on this machine at work. I've got 160 trees on these 5 acres, so I deal with a bunch of leaves. And at the end of this video, I think you'll agree with me when I say that I believe this Mow-N-Vac was designed primarily by bean counters, whereas the Trac Vac was designed by actual engineers. When I go through all the differences, I think you'll agree with me. Now keep in mind, I just checked prices on this a couple days ago. A new Trac Vac is like $2,300. You can still get a Mow-N-Vac for around $1,600, so $700 difference. You know, and that's not a small amount, that's a fair amount. Also keep in mind, $1,600, $2,300, but if you want to buy a steel chute, whereas this is a plastic chute, if you want to buy a steel chute for a Trac Vac, on their website it's about $400. I will be using, and I'll show you this, I will be using the chute that I've used for this one for like 13 years. It works perfect with this one. You can buy them on Amazon now, I think, with the bracket. You have to cut it out to make it fit your mower deck, but I think it's like $100. So just keep in mind, $2,300 plus $400 for the chute for this. So that's a huge difference, man, between these two. So I bought this in 2010, January of 2010. That's when I moved into this property. The previous owner hadn't done the leaves. The grass had died under the trees because he left the leaves lay. At 160 trees, that's a lot of leaves. Now, 160 trees is just on the in-yard trees, not including all the trees outside where the leaves blow in the yard. So bought this in January of 2010, so I'm assuming it's a 2010 model, might be a 2009. This I just bought a couple of months ago. I think it's a 2009 model, and the only reason I say that is because the engine has a build date of 2009. So within a year's difference, all right, guys? Found a Trac Vac in excellent condition, very happy with the purchase and the price. So I've owned this for 13 years, right? And made a lot of repairs on this. Check out my other video, check out my review video. Had to do some welding, some things like that. But this was always a bitch to dump. That's in my review. So I'm going to start this video with what I think, to me personally, is the most important thing. And that is the way they dump. So let's start out again with the differences here in this cart. Now if you look down the side, you can see they look about the same width, right? Check this out. Whoa, what? Why is now the Trac Vac cart sticking out here? Well, I'll tell you why. Again, to me, this is the most important thing. This Mow-N-Vac is 30 inches wide at the back. But guess what? It is a ½ inch narrower at the back than it is at the front. What? Meaning that is a bottleneck. Why would anybody design it that way? In fact, why even make it the same width as the back as the front? But not only didn't they make it the same, it's a ½ inch narrower at the back. Now, how does that figure be good for dumping? On the other hand, the Trac Vac is, whereas the Mow-N-Vac is 30 inches wide at the back and about 29.5 at the front, the Trac Vac is about 30 inches wide at the front, but 34 inches wide at the back. So the back of the Trac Vac, the cart, is 4 inches wider than the front, meaning that's going to be a whole lot better for dumping. On the Trac Vac website, it does list that as a feature. I, of course, had to measure everything. So as you can see, 34 inches, 4 inches wider at the back than it is the front. This is a ½ inch narrower at the back than it is the front. Stupid. So let's go back to the Agri-Fab. I want to show you guys how this tailgate works on this. First of all, it's plastic. This one is steel. This is how you release it. Then down here, they have straps that go to here, which I've had to add others because these break in time. As you can see, this one is. So now what I've done is I don't even use these anymore. I just use a strap that goes all the way from here, all the way across to here. Anyway, let's take this off. As you can see, the bottom here fits into this and this. Now, that creates some issues. If you get the Agri-Fab full of wet leaves and grass mixture, so it's pretty heavy, and you go over some bumps, the bottom of the tailgate will blow out of these. Number one. Number two, when you dump this cart, you have to have a screwdriver with you, or in my case I use my pocket knife, scrape the leaves back out of these slots before you put the tailgate back on. Here's another thing. When you dump this, fold it backwards, let it go back and tilt and dump, what hits the ground? Well, these do. So when you dump it 4 or 5 times, again, if it's dry leaves, it doesn't matter, but if it's wet and heavy stuff, eventually 4 or 5 dumps of this cart, these are pinned against here, they bend. So you have to carry a screwdriver with you to stick back in there and bend those back to be able to get the tailgate back on. Here's another thing. Look how this is designed. The screen is up in here and the exhaust is here. See that distance, about 3 inches? So it exhausts down here. Because of this steel here, this stick goes up in here about 6 or 8 inches. When you tilt this back to dump it, if you've got it full, the leaves hit this and they won't dump. So not only do you have 1/2 inch narrower at the back, a bottleneck, then you've got this to deal with. So you absolutely, if you fill it, you absolutely have to stick your rake in here and rake the top out first before you even tilt it back, because it's just going to hit here and not move. And while we're on the subject of the way this exhaust comes out, you would think that maybe this is better than this design, because this exhausts here, and you guys that have watched the videos online, you can see all the dust and crap that comes out here and blows it out in the air. You would think, well, it's dirtier to run this machine, and it is a little. But let me tell you a disadvantage of blowing it down. Now let's say your leaves are dry that are on the ground. You're vacuuming up dry leaves. This blows down with enough force that even though you have just taken the leaves off of this spot, the air is hitting the leaves that are over here and blowing them back into the path that you just cleaned. And now, not a bunch, but I just want to mention it does happen. You'll never have that with this design. So I've showed you how this comes off. Now let's look at how this comes off. You've got this latch here. You've got a latch here. It's the same exact type of latch. And a latch here. And again, it's steel. And that is it. You just lift it up and remove it. Okay? Let's talk a little bit about structural integrity now that we're in the back here. This plastic is a major structural component of this unit. Watch this. Look at that, you guys. Look at that thing wobble. This will some, but not near as much. Now when you put this tailgate on, this thing is rock solid. As you can see, the top of this is steel, this is plastic. This Agri-Fab is all pop rivets. While I'm showing you this, if you see bolts somewhere, that's because I put them in it. Now, eventually, these pop rivets will start to pop, split metal, things like that. See, like here, I put these bolts in these because they broke out. But it's all pop rivets, guys. This chute cover was pop riveted in. This is my third one in 13 years. I just had to put my third one in last fall when I got done. I bought a new one and put it in to get ready for this fall. Let's go over and look at the Trac Vac. All bolted, or I guess you could call them cap screws. No rivets. Now, I will say these bolts here, I reversed them. They were all like this with the nuts on the inside. Well, my whole thing is I want to have a cart, as I get older especially, I want a cart that's easier to dump. So I simply reversed all these so there would be as little sticking out here as possible to keep anything from coming out. The only other thing I did to this too was the floor was a little rough, so I sanded everything on the floor, give it a double coat of Rust-Oleum, and then after, in a couple more weeks, I'll wax that floor. I wax everything. And it does make a big difference, even in the Agri-Fab. If you wax everything, that makes a big difference. Covered that in my review. So I've got all this waxing ready to go. I just have to do the floor. But, get this hose out of the way. Talk about hoses in a minute. All pop rivets on the floor. You can see this cart is split down the middle. And this cart might be kind of hard to see, but it's starting to fall at the sides because it's framed here in the center, but this is just sheet metal. Whereas this, solid, right? Solid bar here, no bowing of the floor. These screws, bolts, I put those in with these big washers because the pot rivets and were had let loose, and the floor bounced around enough that it, through stress, it cracked this floor, which I've had to re-weld a couple of times. Oh, and of course this plastic gate weighs nothing, whereas this, I'll bet we're at 15-20 pounds with that. I was going to give you guys the difference in the weight, but I cannot find any statistics anywhere on the weight of this Trac Vac 580. Next thing I want to talk to you about is tires. Take a look at them. You can tell the Trac Vac tires are bigger, and that's one thing I always had a complaint about this Agri-Fab. If you get it full of heavy wet leaves, which in the fall here a lot of times it's wet and I have to get the leaves off, so I still have to do it. I can't wait for them to dry. This will dig down in the mud. It'll sink in the mud. Always wanted bigger tires on it, but never really. I checked one time for wheels and tires, but that stuff got expensive, and then I couldn't find with the right axle size, so on and so forth. Now, this does have grease zerks, and so does the Trac Vac. As you can see, grease zerks. However, look at the difference in the tire. And to give you an idea, the tires on this are 5 inches wide, and this is a little over 6 inches wide. So, in total, about 2.5 inches wider, combining both tires, and that can make a huge difference in how much it sinks into the ground. Again, I just think it's some things you buy are well thought out and some things are just not. Okay, let's go to how they dump. So to dump the Agri-Fab, you have to slide this like this, and that might look easy, but try to put it back on. So you have to release the plastic chute. It's got elastic around it. Then pull the lever forward with your foot. Now, you guys notice that? Look how that thing moves, that latch. Look at this. That's the way it was new, fellas. And once in a while, that thing will bend enough. In fact, look right now, it does not want to slip back in there. But sometimes this gets back there too far and it just will not latch, and then you have to bend it back. Just something else to mess with. So there's how that goes. All right. So now let's do this one. Let me show you how to tilt the Trac Vac. First of all, this is all steel, not plastic. And there's no elastic chute to mess with. You've got this. That's it. Pull it up. Push the lever forward. Push this back. And there you go. That's it. And look how strong this is compared to that Agri-Fab. And this just does not move. Look how thick the metal is. Here's where it latches into. So let's put it back. I've got it so slicked up, it's hard to grab it with one hand because I've got everything waxed. Notice that latched immediately. Let's put this back in. That like that, and you're done. Again, obviously designed by an engineer. So I hope you guys are appreciating this and learning about these two. Leaf season is coming up, so I know you guys are going to be making decisions on what you want to buy. Let's talk now about the engine and blower placement. So here's the Mow-N-Vac Agri-Fab. Blows right out the side. Engine is set like that. All your controls are right here. This has, by the way, 205cc Briggs & Stratton, and that's what the Trac Vac is, 205cc Briggs & Stratton, and only 1 year difference in production. This is rated at 9 foot-pounds gross of torque, whereas the Trac Vac is rated at 8. I really don't think there's much difference, guys, but whatever. Anyway, you would think, okay, controls are here, that's cool. I always thought that too. And these are easy to start. You push it all the way to full throttle, full choke, and of course while you're pulling on it, you're also turning the turbine here. So it's a little difficult to pull, but once you pull it, this starts first time every time, always had. This has been an excellent engine. The key to these engines, of course, is keeping a clean air filter. Sometimes I have to clean this twice a day, or maybe even 3 times. You know, if I do leaves for 10 hours in one day, I'm going to be cleaning this a lot. But it starts first time every time. Once you pull to start it, it starts to pop. You take the choke off a little bit, and eventually you take it all the way off. The other one works exactly the same way. So, now that we've discussed that, let's go to the Trac Vac. This is set up so the motor faces backwards. Now you would think, well, that's kind of goofy because it's harder to get at the controls. And you'd be correct. The controls, however, because they're both Briggs & Stratton engines, are identical. Choke, throttle, everything identical. Difference is you have to reach in here and pull the cord out this way. So at first I thought, well, that's kind of goofy. But then I remembered that I constantly, if I get close to a bush or something and rub up against this, it'll hit the choke and choke that engine off and kill it. Then I have to get off and restart it. I'm never going to have that issue with this because the controls are not on the outside, so they're kind of protected in here. Another thing, and I know I already covered this is a steel flex chute, but the Mow-N-Vac, as you saw, the suction hose sticks right out here. This comes out here at an angle, and I thought, well, how's that going to work with my mower? I'm going to cover that later, but this is just such a much better design. And you guys that have seen my review on the Agri-Fab or other reviews, I don't think anybody's ever had one that they've been able to go with the hose from here, because you got to come out this way, you got to turn, then you got to go into your mower deck. This holds the hose, which I have put a vice grip on mine to keep it from flopping all over the place. And the hose is constantly dragging the ground. Every time I would tighten the things up enough, like the bungee cord here, or move this to get the hose off the ground, the first time I make a turn, it's back on the ground again. I could never devise a way to keep the hose off the ground. This, on the other hand, and I couldn't actually believe this when I finally set everything up on my mower deck, and I'll show you a little bit later, hose never comes close to the ground. Never. I'll show you how that works later. So let's talk about the frames, guys. I'll show you close-ups here. There's the rear Here's how the frame and axles go. This is just sheet metal, stamped sheet metal, which that's what everything is on this. This looks like a frame, but it's actually just formed thick sheet metal. And I don't know if you can see this, but you can see there's a bend in that. I mean, not a bend, it's not bent, it's just sagging, like right here. You can see it's sagging. So let's go over and take a look at the Trac Vac bar frame, steel bar frame, right? See, all of it. Steel, that's about 1.75 inches, I would say, by probably a little less than 1/4 inch thick. And that's the way it all is. The whole is to the back. There's a view of the back of it. Just a lot more solid. So let's talk about the tongues again. And one thing that when I did a review, I forgot to mention this, but the guys that commented on my review for the Agri-Fab made sure that they commented on it, is the weight of this tongue. I mean, it's heavy. I'm going to weigh it here in a second for you guys. But picking that thing up off the ground is not an easy chore. It's fairly heavy. So here's a good look at the hitch. Now check out this engineered hitch on this Trac Vac. Check it out, guys. First of all, it has a telescopic rotating hitch, and look how thick it is. Now rotating, what I mean is the cart will turn side to side independent of the hitch. Now I drilled a hole and have a bolt in it here to keep it from doing that, and the only reason I do that is because I put a caster on the front of this so that when it's easier to move around in my pole barn with a wheel on it, right? And also, when I say telescopic, I mean it's got two positions. You can put it back here, and it's about 5 inches. It makes the tongue about 5 inches longer. Okay? So you do have that option of a telescopic hitch, which of course the Agri-Fab does not have. So now we're talking about weight, but here's another neat little deal. This is the kickstand, guys. And now I didn't set it up with it because I wanted to show you both these units as close to the same as I could. But all you have to do when you go to unhook this is kick your kickstand down, so that when you, and in my case on my Dixon, this is with the kickstand down and the hitch on the kickstand, or the tongue I should say on the kickstand, this is only about 3 inches lower than my actual hitch on my Dixon. So now I'm not picking it up off the ground. I'm picking it up only 2 or 3 inches, and that makes a huge difference in the weight. I think you guys can see that would. All right, I'm gonna weigh both of these, so hang on. Well, I don't know how well this is gonna work, but here we go. We're gonna try it. $80.6 pounds. Let's go weigh the Trac Vac. $79.4, so yeah, about a pound difference is all. Not much, right? But again, put it on the kickstand and what's it gonna weigh? You know, from trying to snatch it up, you don't have to do it from all the way from the ground. All right, guys, as far as dimensions, I just measured the Agri-Fab, and it was 97 inches. So on this one, it's about 95, but that is with the tongue in the retracted position. So roughly they're the same length. So guys, I want to make a kind of important note to you guys about the track width outside of the tires. About 37.5 inches wide, and the Trac Vac is about 34 inches wide. So 3 or 4 inches wider on the Agri-Fab over the Trac Vac. But that's not the important thing I want to talk to you about. Look how far out the tires stick on the Trac Vac. Now your first thought would be, okay, well, that just would add to the stability, side to side stability. Whereas you look at the Trac Vac and the tires are almost, in fact they are in line with this rib here. See that? Well, why is that important, you might ask? Well, the reason that's important, and believe me guys, I know this because I've done it several times, because these tires stick out. When you try to get close to a tree, like let's say this one right here, and you have roots sticking out here, when you get too close and your tire hits that root, guess what happens? The cart rolls over. If it's full, it's pretty tough to get it back upright. Now, it doesn't really hurt anything, but by having the tires the same width as the cart, you're less likely to get too close to those roots and hit them with the tires, right? Because you've got the cart here. So because these tires stick out, you're going to hit those roots sooner or later. In 13 years, and I try to be careful, but in 13 years, I'll bet I've done it. I'll bet I've done it 10 times. You know, hit those roots and the cart, it just tips over. And when it does that, of course, because this is not a rotational hitch like the Trac Vac is, this just twists the crap out of the hitch on your tractor or mower or whatever you're using to pull it. So to me, that's another important thing. Now you see why I made this list, you guys. There might be stuff I'm missing, but I really don't think so. I think I've pretty much covered it all. I'm going to hook this Trac Vac up now to my Dixon, even though I'm not ready. I don't use the Dixon for much of anything else besides leaf pickup. So I'm going to go ahead and hook the chute up and show you guys the setup on a zero-turn mower with a 60-inch deck. And somewhere in there, I'll grab a portion of a video out of one of my 3 videos that I have on my channel of the Agri-Fab, showing you me running it and how the hose is constantly on the ground and how with this it is not. So I'm going to hook everything up, and then when I come back, I'll show you. Here's what the hitch looks like with the kickstand down on the Trac Vac. As you can see, it's only about 3 inches lower than my hitch, and my hitch is just a simple piece of metal I made, and I hardened it. And this was 13 years ago. That's how long it's lasted. And then I reinforced this cross member on my Dixon. So now all you have to do is grab it here, and you can slide this, by the way. It'll slide on that hitch. Just lift from this distance, and that's it. I mean, that little kickstand just makes a huge difference in snatching something that weighs 80 pounds, right? Just wanted to show you that. Now I'll get the chute hooked up and I'll take it for a ride and show you guys that the hose does not touch the ground. Okay, now normally I use a regular hitch pin in here, but this is the caster I use. I just reverse it and put it on the bottom. That way I can roll this whole unit around. Here's what it looks like with the kickstand in the up position, and that's spring loaded, so it's got a groove in it so it stays up. Okay guys, I just screwed the chute on it quick just to show you guys the hose does not touch the ground. So much more maneuverable. As you can see, that hose is a good 8 inches off the ground up here in the front, whereas when it's hooked to the Agri-Fab, and by the way, the Agri-Fab hoses has to be about 4 to 5 feet longer to even work. Remember, it comes out the side, makes the bend all the way up to here, so you've got all this extra hose that is constantly dragging the ground. This is just such a much better, in my opinion, you guys, well thought out machine. Trac Vac 580 with the chute. You know, about $1,100-$1,200 more money though than an Agri-Fab. New. You know, like I said, I bought this used just a couple of months ago, so far very happy with it. I wish I could show you a video of it sucking up leaves, but I believe it to be as good as, or maybe even better at it. Again, I think the Agri-Fab, when they advertise it for a maximum of a 54-inch deck. Well, my Dixon's got a 60-inch on it, which means I just have to go slower, you know. A lot of times I'm doing leaves that are, I'm sucking up leaves that are 6-8 inches thick. Check out my other videos. You'll see me going through that thick stuff, and I mean, I'm at a snail's pace. Okay guys, that's going to be about it for my Agri-Fab versus the Trac Vac review video. If it was helpful, please give me a like, hit that thumbs up, and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Was I right? Agri-Fab, developed by bean counters. Trac Vac, true engineers. Just my opinion, but I think the evidence is clear. Will the Agri-Fab do the job? Obviously it has for me for 13 years, but I know this is going to just dump a whole lot easier. So thanks again, guys. You might want to check out my channel. This is not the only reviews I've done. I've got tractors and equipment, motorcycle reviews, Harley Davidson, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Honda, Goldwing. Quite a few reviews, one versus another, BMW versus Honda, Yamaha versus Honda, Kawasaki, things like that. But what I have most videos of is my animal videos, and that's what I use my Dixon for. Other than leaves, I only use it to mow my trails. I run 26 trail cameras. Over the course of 13 years, I've been lucky enough to get some very unique trail camera videos of some decent bucks, fawns, does, all kinds of other animals. In fact, my huge leaf pile that I have from all these trees that's out back, it's over a quarter of a mile. I take them back to dump. The way the animals react and interact around that leaf pile is just crazy. So check out those vids if you like. I appreciate it. And hey guys, thanks for watching. Until next time.